Welcome, everybody, to the 40k Badcast. My name is Dan Boyd, and I'm joined, as always, by Campbell McLaughlin, where we are pretty bad at 40k, Campbell, and we can tell you how.
Yeah, I think I'm actually ahead of you on the being bad at 40k thing.
Well, we'll get to that in a little bit. But, guys, this is it. It is the Novacast 2017. We are dispensing with the usual Badcast tomfoolery, and we're just going to focus on the 2017 Nova Open, which just wrapped up.
Yeah, this will be event-specific tomfoolery and all the other kind of bullshit we dispense.
So no Factor fan fiction, no Auspex, none of that. We are just going to focus on the event. So if you don't want to hear about it, well, fuck you. All right. So
and if you're new, welcome. I'm glad we can tell you to go fuck yourself in the first 60 seconds of the show. Yes. But welcome, new listeners. We met a lot of you at Nova and handed out a whole buttload of patented Badcast biz cards.
Oh, the Badcast biz cards. That's right.
Yeah, the Badcast biz cards.
I'm like only down to 490 now. Okay, so let's get started. The Nova Open, right now as we're recording, it's September 7th. So the Nova Open wrapped up last weekend. A week ago today, or actually a week ago yesterday, Campbell, you got in a plane and came down to Washington, D.C.
Yeah, it only feels like a month ago at this point.
Right? It's a long event, guys, is what we're getting at. A very long event. But you came down. We went to the GW preview event, which we did the same thing at Adepticon this year.
Yeah, and if you listen to our Adepticon show, the story isn't that different.
It's really not.
So this time around, it's the same as last time, where they basically had a preview of a bunch of upcoming stuff, then a Q&A round, and then you got your hands on some of the new stuff. However, unlike last time, this wasn't unprecedented, so I feel like some of that new car smell was gone, as it were.
Additionally, last time we were at the point of rumors of 8th edition. Mm-hmm. The game, I think we knew it was coming, and they had like slyly been like, yeah, it's coming, but we're not yet fully announcing it, that kind of thing.
Yeah. It
was kind of a weird gray area where we have a new edition of 40K, and holy fuck, were there a lot of questions. But let's get to that at the end because I have comments. They showed off. We're going to focus mainly on 40K here because it's a 40K podcast. So they showed off some Age of Sigmar shit, something that I thought was really cool, a new community outreach program to identify the people in the Warhammer community that are doing well in the world or doing good in the world, which I thought was really nice.
No, it's a nice way to recognize people who are positive forces for change in the community. So I imagine this would probably go to people, like Mike Brandt, who organized the Nova Open, or the example they gave of a guy who like drives 4 hours every weekend to run Warhammer games for an elementary school and stuff like that.
Yeah, not us.
I mean, when they run out of people who are actually worth earning this, they'll be like, who's left? I know those 40K fuckboys.
40K fuckboys over at the Badcast, yeah. So they teased some Age of Sigmar stuff. They talked about Shadespire, which we talked about at the Adepticast. They were releasing Orcs for Shadespire, which is, who the fuck knew they were going to do that? Only one of the most popular factions. My thoughts on Shadespire have not changed, which is I might play it. When they release Skellies, if the models are cool, I'll probably just buy the models to paint them, but I don't know if a deck building game geared towards tournaments is something that I really want to get into.
I still think it looks really cool, and I'd still like to play it. However, my attention for that totally got taken away by the big announcement, which was Necromunda.
Oh, it's back, baby.
Like, Necromunda is near and dear to my hammy heart, and the new models, the new game board, all that cool stuff was fucking mind-blowing. And they have plans for the whole all 6 gangs and then some, plans for more vertical gameplay and campaign play too, which unfortunately is not in the main rulebook, but I kind of get why. And that's going to be a really cool specialist game that they'll hopefully be supporting in the future, as well as they've supported Blood Bowl.
So let me talk about Necromunda for a bit. I have the original hazard-striped large hardcover tome that was the first original 2 books, Rules and Campaigns, and Outlanders at home.
Nice.
I have it. And I read that thing every now and then just for fun. Just flipping through it, Mark Gibbons, I think, was the artist's name. His stuff is all over that one. The stories, there's the amazing stories about like the Moby Dick-esque story about hunting giant spiders in the sump. Like the shit, the background to Necromunda is some of the most interesting and cool shit that GW has ever released. Mainly, I think, because it's on a very personal level.
Yeah, and it's a view into, I'd say working man is kind of a wrong word, but a word into the commoner's struggle in the 40k universe, because they aren't really, guys with 9-to-5 jobs. They're people who hire child soldiers to murder each other in the sewers underneath the city.
Well, that's a good point. Though you say working man, I guess because Nottingham is not necessarily a cosmopolitan area of the UK, is it?
No, it's also called Shottingham by some.
Well, I think that the original designers at Games Workshop all had pretty working class backgrounds, right?
Oh, yeah, it's a blue-collar town. But when I was in London back during the whole independent characters exodus out there or exodus, whatever.
Sojourn.
Trip out there.
An exodus is when you're kicked out. If it was an exodus to London in England, it would have been that we got tired of you over here and sent you packing.
Give it time. But during that whole trip over there, when I was in the London Underground, I looked up and you could just see the pipe networks going up, seemingly impossibly far. I'm like, oh, that's where Necromunda comes from.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, listeners, they fucking done did it again.
And they did it good.
Oh my God, it's so fucking cool. So the first thing that catches your eye about Necromunda are the models. And we're not talking giant hand Gary Morley sculpts. These models are so fucking cool.
I mean, a lot of the originals are super cool too, because a lot of them, like the Eschers, are Jess Goodwin sculpts, but these ones are fucking fantastic.
The Eschers are feminine, but not overstated. Mm-hmm. They are both like strong and scary at the same time. The weapons they have involved, oh my fucking God, they're so cool.
And they're so different too. Like
the Goliaths, they have fucking like chainsaw mohawks. There's a guy, he has got a fucking two-handed chainsaw axe called the Renderizer. There's an Escher lady who literally has like a torch and a giant bottle of fuel.
Mm-hmm.
And her thing is that she shoots a flamer template like with her torch combo, fuel canister combo.
Yeah,
it's fucking ridiculous. It's amazing.
Dude, my favorite weapon, just by name, is the Goliath Spudjacker.
Yes.
It's like a monkey wrench with a saw in the middle between the two teeth, and it jacks spuds, apparently.
It's purpose built for jacking spuds.
But I got to play in, well, I'll get to that in a minute. Is there anything else we want to cover during the actual preview event, like where they were showing stuff off?
Yeah, we'll get to, no, let's do Necromunda now, and then we can get to the 40k stuff after that.
Afterwards, we actually got to play Necromunda, and it was me, Craig Sniffen, and I think Jason Sniffen and some other guy on the other side, and you got to watch because you like to watch. I have that in good authority. And we it was just a little 2 gangers per player with I think Pete Foley. Was it Pete Foley?
No, it was Adam Toke.
Yeah, Adam Troke was
Troke or Toke?
Troke.
Adam Toke is better.
He's not 420 Adam Toke.
420 Adam Toke. Yes.
He drives a wizard van around Nottingham.
Adam Blaze It Toke.
So anyway, he was
nice.
Yeah, he was really nice.
My favorite part of that whole thing is when he came over and I was like, hey, long time no see, because we had just seen him in the event, and he got very confused by that.
He was like, do I know you? Have we met before?
But I had to explain it, which really made the joke land.
Oh, yeah, no, it was just stuck, that landing. Nice faceplant in that landing there.
Yeah.
But we had to play it, and it was cool because it has alternating activations.
Yes.
Like by ganger. So you go, okay, moving this guy, then your turn is you move this guy, and if you keep near your leader, you can activate another guy. And you got 2 actions per guy.
The leader is so powerful.
Yeah, you got 2 actions per guy, which if you've played XCOM, it feels very much like that, where you can move, or move and shoot, or move, or just assault, or like throw
charge
a grenade,
or something,
open a door, and so on and so on. And
but you can't shoot and shoot, and you can't fight and fight.
Right.
And charging takes 2 actions.
Right. So you can't just have your heavy sit there behind the box and gun down 2 guys a turn unless some special ability happens.
There might be some special abilities because there are cards that you can use. It's a little bit of a deck building thing, and there are special abilities cards that you can use to enhance your gang during the game.
Like, for instance, our Goliaths had one which let you shrug off any wounds, just period. And there's a part where the Eschers had a chem thrower, which is the flamer you were talking about, that would have incinerated one of our dudes. But Craig just played that card that let his guy not die, essentially, and got to act as normal during his turn. But
Jason got you back with one of his cards that let one of his Escher gangers activate as she got taken out of action.
No, I think he got Craig back because I was fighting the other dude who just kept jamming his pistols over and over and over again. I just spud-jacked. Yeah,
a really impressive series of ones.
Yeah, it'd be like a one, because you'd roll like a die. There's an ammo die and a hit die, and you roll both of them. Because in old Necromunda, you just rolled a shooting die. If you rolled a 6, you expended your ammo and had to make an ammo check in addition to hitting. Here you roll that separately, so you can actually hit something without running out of ammo necessarily. And each weapon has its own little ammo chart thing on there. It's a nice little reference card thing.
Well, you can miss something and run out of ammo.
That too.
Yeah,
you can be totally screwed.
Because that used to be a scavy thing only in the old game. Is they were the ones who would have to do ammo checks on 1 and 6.
What an advantage!
Oh, check it out, Chaboy has got some fucking necro knowledge. What's up, y'all?
I never played with scavies. I just had my Goliaths and team meat.
My brother had a scavy gang, so we'd play all the time.
That makes sense.
He likes zombies.
Yeah, that's the right gang for him. Yep. I don't know if they'll be in the new Necromunda, but they said they were looking into the possibility of stuff like that. Like, they're not going to rule anything out.
Well, let's look at an example of what's been going on with the recently released specialist game, Blood Bowl, and how quickly they've been releasing stuff, which is to say, not that quickly.
Yeah, it started off real strong, and then it kind of slowed down real quick.
They've been teasing elves in Blood Bowl for what seems like 4 or 5 months now, and we haven't seen them. They haven't released anything since they released Goblins, which was, I think, 3-4 months ago.
Yeah.
And, there's only 6 factions, base factions for Necromunda and the 6 hive families. But, who knows when they're going to get around to releasing that stuff.
Hopefully sooner rather than later, because I'm going to go in on this pretty hard because I love Necromunda and I can't wait to play it again.
The models are so good. Let's get back to that. The models are so good. There's a guy on the Goliath team who's got a nail gun is his weapon.
Yeah.
It looks like a fucking nail gun, and it's fucking tight as shit. The Escher leader has like whips and fucking pistols and swords all over. It's awesome.
Well, they all have weaponry that's really suited to their gang's personality. So the Goliaths have a lot of repurposed industrial equipment, which is super sick.
I can't wait till we see Van Sars and everybody gets a plasma cannon.
Don't mention Van Sars to me.
Fuck Van Sars, dude.
Fuck Van Sars. Butch, you know who you are.
Those guys suck. I like the Cawdor dudes myself.
Yeah, I hope they're bringing Redemptionists, but we can wish list forever.
No, the models are fantastic. The game looks like a ton of fun. There are multiple ways to play the game. They have a board that looks like Space Hulk and kind of plays like Space Hulk. And then they have rules for actually setting it up on a tabletop, like in the old style with a bunch of terrain.
Yeah, and that's also with the advancement rules and stuff like that, which are in essentially the Death Zone equivalent for this, where it's a separate expansion along with the base game coming out the same day, which I get because you don't include rules for things in the base game that aren't in the box, but on the other hand, it's kind of annoying having to buy 2 things instead of 1. Because like the original game, which I've got a copy of over in my trunk of hams, has all the information you need to play beyond like, some of the things like you see in Outlanders.
Right, and I agree with you on this one. I think that if they had put in the box a section on like, hey, this is what you can do to expand the game, I feel like that would make more people want to buy the expansions. But, I'm just a guy. I'm not a marketer. Just sit here and paint models and roll dice.
Talking to microphones.
What the fuck do I know? So let's move on to 40k. They didn't have a ton of announcements for 40k other than some codexes that are coming.
Yeah, they announced Guard, Nids, and Craftword Eldar getting new codexes coming out before Thanksgiving or before the November.
They said all of them would come out before November, which is a pretty small window because that would mean September and October. I mean, we'll see if they actually stick to that, but before November is great. Campbell, I'm kind of excited for one of these codexes.
Is it? It's Eldar, right?
Yeah, you know how much I love those Eldar and all those what do you call them? Apex warriors?
Yeah, you like playing against Eldar just as much as you like playing them.
Exactly. No, the Astra Militarum, / Imperial Guard, whatever codex is coming out. Hopefully, within the next 2 months here, and I am fucking ready. But honestly, Campbell, I don't know if we need one.
Yeah, you seem to be doing just fine with the index list.
Our shit's pretty fucking good right now. We'll talk about it more later in the show when we talk a little bit about the other events. But Andrew Gagno, who has won events all over the fucking place, won with mainly Astra Militarum list with a bunch of fucking conscripts in it.
Yeah, I know they're kind of the thing to have right now, but
so I'll accept it, of course. The Astra Militarum Codex. I'll allow it to happen, but I'm not going to go out and say that we really need it that much.
I'm just looking forward to seeing what special things like chapter tactical equivalents my Valhallans get, because I want to know what they get to do.
Ooh, that's right. I hope my Steel Legion gets something cool.
Dude,
it's going to suck. It's going to suck so bad.
It's going to be like Valhalla Rough Riders get +2 to movement. And I'll be like, why? Cool. Fine. Sure. I guess.
Watch it be Steel Legionnaires get Chimeras for free. I'll be like, fuck yeah.
They'll be like, Steel Legion Ratlings can run and shoot. Sure, why not?
Great. Fantastic. A boy can dream. Campbell. So Wednesday after the event, the preview event where we heard some stuff and played some games, we went up to the Foundation Lounge. And those that you don't know, Nova Open has a bar, basically, where all the proceeds go to charity.
Yeah, which is
called the
super
Foundation
noble.
Lounge, and they usually set it up at the top or near the top of the hotel. And we went up there, had a couple of beers, and we decided not to partake too much because I was driving home because we weren't staying the night at the hotel that night, and it's Wednesday, and we still have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to do in this con. However, Campbell, some people decided not to do that. They decided, you know what? I'm around my friends. I'm at a War Games convention, and I'm going to get real fucking wasted.
Yeah, and starting on Wednesday just seems like, I'm not really the guy to go to always for the most responsible partying habits at cons, but starting Wednesday, I can tell you, is not a smart idea.
No, it was very dumb. Our very own Mike Brandt got real drunk that night, though he rallies pretty well from hangovers normally. But other people got real drunk too. It looked like a fun scene, and I think it was a real chill hang for everyone involved. But I'm glad that we used self-restraint on Wednesday night. Yeah,
I kind of wish I practiced the same thing, I think, on Saturday, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
All right, so let's go to Thursday. So Thursday, we got our shit together. We actually made our lists on Thursday because we were super prepared for this one. And after lunch, we went to the hotel, checked in, got our room, and then we took a walk around the floor. We met up with our friends and we took a walk around the vendor floor.
Well, we have to start by talking about the swag bag.
Holy smokes!
Because we both got the Supernova bag, which was fucking killer, and came in a KR multi-case backpack and weighed more than my actual backpack full of my models.
It's true. There was so much shit in there.
So, like, real quick, big winners in that backpack are the Guild Ball starter set, which I don't honestly give that much of a damn about, but that's a whole game. That's a pretty big ticket item.
Now I have two.
Yeah, now you have two because you won one in a raffle at Epticon.
In the door raffle.
Yeah. Then for Horus Heresy, there was a box Contemptor Dreadnought.
Yo, Contemptor Dreadnoughts are fucking sick. Hold on. They fucking hit on 2s, dude.
Yeah, which means they're hitting on 3s on the move with that ridiculous assault cannon.
The strength 7 assault cannon?
Yeah.
And they're tougher than regular Dreadnoughts at toughness 7. And they have more wounds at 10 wounds instead of 8. And they have a 5-up invulnerable save.
And they explode bigger. They always explode 6 inches.
So I'm going to paint mine like Raven Guard and use it.
So I got one, and then I bought a shot for a guy, and he gave me his. So I've got 2 now.
Nice.
But it also had a box of Tartaros Terminators.
Hold up.
Oop, what up?
Tartaros Terminators are fucking tight.
I have 10 Terminators already, so I'm not super feeling like painting 5 more, but I got them. I'm happy to have them. I'll use them for 30k or 40k.
They can get a sweet plasma gun on their sergeant. They can get grenade harnesses, heavy flamers. They're fucking Terminators with 6-inch movement instead of 5-inch movement for regular Terminators.
Yeah, that's true.
They're fucking rad, dude.
No,
so
really
I was looking through that Betrayal at Calth box that you convinced me to buy last Nova.
I'm such a good influence.
You're really good. And you know what's in that Betrayal at Calth box?
5 Cataphracti Terminators and also a Contemptor Dreadnought.
That's correct. So I'm going to paint all that stuff up for my Raven Guard because it's fucking good. The Cataphracti Terminators, I got a 4-up invulnerable, which is cool. And another fucking good Dreadnought. Yeah, I'll take one of those, please. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just recommend reposing that second Contemptor because the pose is a little shitty.
They're both the same. I think they're that very static pose.
Yep, they are.
I don't know how I would do that because I'm not much of a modeler, but I'll fucking figure something out.
You'll figure it out. So as for other stuff in the swag bag, there was the requisite snacks, which is a fantastic addition. Coupons and gift certificates to a shitload of booths, some of which I care about, some of which I do not. A stick of deodorant, which is very important for a very large portion of the attendees. Plus the mug and shot glass for Nova Open 2017 that you can take to the bar upstairs and get a discount on beverages, which
$1 off shots with the shot glass, $1 off beers with the mug.
I took advantage of that, I can tell you what.
You didn't see the fucking Square receipts that showed up in my inbox.
No, I was totaling them up. I was surprised they came in under $100, but I was totaling them up.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. I had less than 25 beers in my 4 days there. Good on me.
Way to go.
None for me, thanks. I'm flying. Fuck. Other than that, there's like a shirt. It's all right.
Yeah, I don't really go in for con shirts that much.
Yeah, same. But there was some
They're
other
always
stuff
like that heavy cotton.
Yeah.
I don't like wearing those, man.
There was Dan's favorite. There was some manga in there.
Oh, that's right. There was. I threw that right the fuck out.
Yeah, you did.
Sorry for whoever probably spent a shit ton of time working on that, but I was like, not in my house.
You open it up and you're like, cool, there's naked cat girls in this. In the trash.
That's right. There were fucking actual cat girls in it. Yeah, I know you saved it, though.
I saved mine. I'm going to read it. I have a friend who plays Infinity. I'll send it to him afterwards, or I'll donate it to my very, very needy local library.
Disgusting.
There was that, plus like a fantasy book for person's like independent fantasy stories I have not even read. And I didn't even read that on the plane. And then like a bunch of like little random miniatures they threw in there and a bunch of little bases and all the typical sort of swag baggy stuff you'd expect.
I think it was worth it though, man. That KR case, a KR backpack, KR2 backpack, Guild Ball, which I mean for me is particularly less useful or lucrative or anything or whatever because I already have one and I don't play it anyways.
And you already play a fantasy sports game.
And I already play a fantasy sports game. Thank you. It seemed like a pretty good deal though. And the coupons, like I use the Atlantic Comics and Games coupon. They always have a booth right in the middle of the Nova vendor area. And I bought a couple of Assassins, the Colexis and the Eversor. If they had a Vindicare, I would have bought the Vindicare too, but they didn't. And I don't care about the Calidus. Yeah. So I thought it was a useful bag.
Yeah, I used those 2 coupons and I bought me a Stormhawk Interceptor and a Landspeeder, and I basically got the Landspeeder for free because of that. So yeah, no, that was
I noticed
pretty good bonus.
Using the deodorant too.
I did not use their deodorant. I brought my own, thank you very much. I will not tolerate this slander against my body.
Ooh. I also brought my own deodorant.
Yeah, because you're a fucking adult who can take care of their own self.
I also brought my own soap. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, I use
I hate hotel soap. So for work, I have to travel a little bit. Well, 4 to 6 to 8 times a year, and hotel soap just fucking kills me.
I just don't want to fly out of DCA and have them be like, oh, there's 2 ounces of liquid in your suitcase. We're going to fucking detonate it or whatever.
So we have to strip search you.
The famously lax security at DCA.
Yeah. You know, it's really funny because that's where I fly out of whenever I travel because it's a 10-minute metro ride from my house. You go to places like Las Vegas is a great example. They do not give a shit at Las Vegas.
Dude, I flew out of the airport in Redmond, Oregon, and the TSA agent was one nice old mom who was like, "Oh, your shirt. What video game is that from? My son likes video games." And I'm like, "Oh, can you be my aunt?"
Like, yeah, do you need to check my stuff, or am I cool to blow up? I mean, right on this plane. Wow, we're making jokes about this, man. I don't know. Maybe we should move on.
This is tense political climate. So what else did we do Thursday night?
So Thursday night we had the first round of the Nova narrative. So we got together with the rest of the people. I gotta say, man, right off the bat, Joe and Colin, the guys that run the narrative, are the coolest motherfuckers on the planet, and the most hardworking dudes ever. Joe was up until 3 or 4 in the morning every single day. Yep. He was there before 9 o'clock every single day, and he ran 12 rounds of this campaign the entire time and didn't complain once about it.
Well, first of all, when we showed up, he was running the triples event. He was running the triples tourney.
Oh, that's right. They were doing trios. He and Colin were doing trios. Yeah. God, those guys, man.
Well, I was talking. I overheard him talking. He's like, "Yeah, Today I spent 25 minutes not here."
Yeah, what a fucking trooper, man.
No, the event is built on his back, and it is all the better for it.
So, Joe, if you've listened to a couple of our episodes. If you end up listening to this one, thank you so much, man. You do such an amazing job. The missions were fantastic. The campaign was great. You and Colin both are some of my favorite people, and I will definitely be coming up to Philly either for Canhammer or for the January APOC event this year. And thank you so much, guys, really.
Pretend I said that first so I sound like the nicer person.
So, first round of the Nova Open, Nova narrative.
Yeah.
Campbell, let's talk about my game first, because I don't think your game went too well.
Yeah, your game's probably a bit more interesting than mine.
So, I played a fellow named Patrick, and I just want to pat myself on the back for a second here. On the strength of this game and how just charismatic and wonderful I am, he actually switched sides and joined humanity after our game.
God damn.
So he had salamanders.
Wait, are you saying you took his virtue?
I took his virtue and ran with it all the way back to the humanity side. Oh, let's introduce the campaign a little bit.
Yeah. So it's a this has been running for a few years now, and it is
the 7th iteration of this campaign.
7th, damn. It's only my 2nd. And there is this galaxy-spanning empire of the Virtue, which are an alien collective, and they've subjugated humanity underneath them. Well,
they tried to.
They did for a while. Apparently for the first 5 years they did.
No, I got this. I got this. So the Virtue came, and they were like, hey, we're the Virtue. We're fucking tight. Humanity was like, nah, you're not. So through some campaigns that I wasn't involved in, the Virtue, basically, they were denied Earth because humanity crashed their giant starship into Earth.
Oh, shit.
And so, like, in the solar system is where I started in, like, right after the giant Virtue ship had crashed, nuking most of Earth. And after that had happened, have been on the humanity side the entire time. We basically fled Earth and became a nomadic, like, roving the stars in between the jump gates or whatever, race, spacefaring race. And we've been relegated, really, to just being pirates for a while. But then came 2 years ago when we decided to cross into Virtue space and destroy the jump gate behind us, leaving the solar system, the Earth, the shitty, terrible Earth, and a lot of humanity, and we decided to take it to the Virtue. And since then, we've won 2 campaigns in a row. The first one was to set up this sort of guerrilla activity in Virtue space, and now with the what was the name of the planet we were fighting on? Kapnos, something like that, something Greek. I don't know.
Cadmium.
We have now completely dominated that system, and we have a strong foothold in the heart of Virtue space. So that's what the campaign is riding on, was getting our foothold, our beachhead in Virtue space. So my first round against Patrick and his Salamanders, 2,000-point game, and result was tabled him on turn 5 or 6, can't quite remember. It was a good game, but it happens when you have Space Marines, is sometimes you just run out of models.
Yeah, I experienced that pretty often this weekend.
Yeah, you the game against Patrick was good. He's a nice guy. He's in the Coast Guard. Which was fun to talk to him about that. And like I said, he joined our side after the game. And really nice dude. Pretty good game. It was the old oh, you have a Storm Raven left? Well, sorry, pal. That's it. That's it for you. I played the Ignore the Flyers game, which helped me a lot this weekend. But let's talk about your game.
All right, so my first game was against this guy, Chris, and he had a Tau army, which, first of all, was beautifully painted. I think it's Awakened Realms, which I'm not usually a fan of their work, but it's one of the higher tiers of their work. It's a good-looking army. So he had this, I think this was, 1,000 points first night?
No, this was 2,000.
It was 2,000? All right. It was like 2,000 points, and his list was mostly Tau infantry and drones and shit in the hover port, like drone port tidewall shit, and then a bunch of deep striking commanders with 4 melta-guns each, which I fucking hate because turn 1, first of all, the way these games worked was whoever finishes deploying first doesn't go first. They just have +1 to see who gets first turn, which screwed me twice. And in this game, it screwed me out of, I think, 800 points before I even got to roll a die. And I didn't really get to play a game. I just got to take models off the board for about an hour and a half. And afterwards, I'm like, dude, you're a good dude. Like, you're very friendly, you're very personable. What could I have done to actually make that a game? And he just shrugged because he didn't know, which I'm kind of bummed about because I would have liked to actually. It's definitely started me off on the wrong foot for how my games are going to be going.
Yeah, it was really unfortunate. You were a little bummed on Thursday.
Yeah, because like I'm all hyped for Nova, and then this happens, and I'm like, oh well, shit.
It really takes the air out of your sails.
Yeah, and that kind of, from what I gather, the rest of his games went pretty similarly to that. But
Campbell.
Yeah?
We'll talk about it when we talk about the next day on Friday, but I had a game against him too.
Yep, I'm aware. But afterwards, he was like, we were just talking like, oh, what kind of stuff do you have? And he's got like a shitload of armor. Like, the dude's got tons of stuff, and most of it's really nicely painted. Like, he was showing me a bunch of pictures, and he was like, dude, I have a Manta. I'm like, with you? He's like, yeah. We walk over and he takes me over to this big metal case, and it just opens like Marcellus Wallace's briefcase, and there's this fucking 30-something pound, the width of my arms, giant resin flyer UFO thing. And I got to check that out, and that is a gorgeous model that definitely got a lot of attention over the weekend.
Well, we are going to come back to the Manta because it played a very important part later in the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on to Friday. Friday, kind of an early start. We had a Warlords meeting at 9. The round was going to start at 10. So after the games, my game ended around probably 2, and your game ended before that. I know some people were up until like 4 playing.
Yeah, my game
happened to me later.
1:30, I think, yeah.
But I think we got reasonable amount of sleep on Thursday night. But we wake up, we're playing a 1,000-point game for the first game on Friday, and I'm playing against a friend of mine named Odie, and he, in his 1,000-point game, brought a fucking Stormlord.
Fun, cool, good, useful.
Well, this was the idea for this one, this campaign, this time through narrative, was that you could bring multiple lists.
Mm-hmm.
So you could react to the list if you knew that you were going to match up poorly against something. And so I had done that for every level except 1,000.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a list with my Shadow Sword in it at 1,000 points, which I'm happy about, actually, because I ended up tabling him.
What'd you do to kill the Storm Ward?
Oh, man. I had a little party in my 1,000-point list, a little character party, and that character party included 3 Primaris Psychers and an Astropath.
Smite.
Precisely. I smited it down. It took me 6 turns to kill, 5 turns to kill it through smiting. I had a Basilisk that was shooting at it. I had, lasgun wounds here and there. But it took me a while, but I got it down. And then after it's a 500-plus point tank,
yeah.
He had like an un-infantry squad, a las cannon squad, Yarick, and something else in there. And after it blew up and it exploded, which was hilarious, he didn't have that much left. And I had still a few infantry squads around, and they just mopped him up in the shooting phase.
Yeah, that sounds about right. But
he had taken the idea of eggs and baskets and combined them into one thing, which is not always the best idea.
Just one very large egg.
Yeah, so how'd your first game go that round?
So my first game was against this guy, Gavin, who you got to play later. And he had a Tyranid army, and he was awesome. I think he was the
coolest motherfucker there.
Yeah, I would have.
He was so fucking cool.
If I could have voted for best sportsman, it would have gone to him. He was my favorite game I played that weekend. He was my favorite dude I played with that weekend, and he was super chill. We were both on the same level. Like our lists were both okay. Like neither of us had like a really killer list, but neither of us had a total shit list. Like I had a Lander to Crusader and some Crusaders and Marines and 1,000 points, and he had a Vanguard force of Tyranids. But thing is, he had 2 squads of Biovores, and they'd launched the Spore Mines all over the place.
Those things are brutal.
They are brutal, but I had to play probably the most like tactical positioning maneuvering game I've ever played at 40k, and that was really refreshing. Because I mean, I'm not good at this game, so I never think that much about positioning, but this game forced me to really use my head and maneuver my stuff around. I ended up winning. The Emperor's Champion dueled his swarm, or not, his Hive Tyrant, and barely lost, and then my captain killed him or whatever. But nice. it was a cool game. It was a really cool game. He had a fun Tyranid army that was really colorful, and I would love to play with him again.
Yeah, I played him too. I'll talk about it because I played him the next day on Saturday. I'll talk about it, but I'm going to be echoing a lot of those sentiments. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the reasons that I ended up playing him was because you said he was such a cool opponent.
Yeah.
Oh, listeners, by the way, I'm the guy who runs a human faction for Nova Narrative, so I was making all the pairings. So this is one of those times where you said he was a cool guy, so I was like, I'm going to pair myself up against him later in the tournament.
Yep.
Well, Campbell, game 2 on Friday was...
Hey,
okay, it was a team game, and Campbell and I were on the same team for once. It was a 2,000 points per side team game, so a total of 1,000 per team member. So we had brought our 1,000-point lists. This was actually why I liked Friday so much, or at least part of Friday so much, was because we could just... Our morning game was 1,000 points. Our midday game was 1,000-point team game. And then you had a bunch of time to go back to your room to get 1,500 more points to play a 2,500-point game.
In theory,
which I think worked out pretty well. But we played against fellas Dan and Spencer.
Yep.
The combination of Khorne Berserkers and Tyranids.
Yeah.
So Campbell, how many models do you think were on our side?
So let's see. Your list had what? 60 guardsmen. Mm-hmm. Probably half a dozen tanks and half a dozen characters.
3 tanks and 7 characters. So a total of 70 models. Yeah.
My army had, let's just say, like 40, I'd guess, because I have a bunch of Marines and a few vehicles, because it's only 1,000 points.
Okay, so let's say our side had 110 models.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Okay. What do you think? What do you think their side had?
Well, Spencer, his list was pretty reasonable. It was a few squads of Berserkers and Rhinos. It was probably like 30 to 40. And Daniel brought maybe, I don't know, like 100, because he brought 90 fucking Termagants.
He certainly fucking did. 90 Termagants in a 1,000-point list game. Okay, so first off, Dan and Spencer, really nice dudes.
Yeah, and Spencer's actually a local guy for me.
Yeah, I liked him a lot. Him and his brother were both there, and they were both really cool. I talked to Dan during the tournament because we played again, and he's a nice dude, and I think he's starting to get it that bringing that many models is a pain in the fucking ass for everybody involved. Not only are you fucking measuring and moving 100+ models in a game, your opponents have to wait for you to do it. So this game took 5 hours.
Yep.
And our turns, I was timing them, took between 20 and 35 minutes apiece.
Yeah, like we were intentionally playing pretty quickly because like by turn 2, we're just like, come on, we got to get this game over. Deployment
took forever.
Yep.
Because, again, 90 fucking Termagants. That's one thing about 8th edition 40k. Deployment takes fucking forever.
Yeah, but also deployment's going to take longer in any doubles game because you're both kind of being like, okay, where should you put this? You commiserate a little bit.
Doubles games take longer. Yeah, doubles games take longer, but they're not supposed to take fucking 5 hours.
No, they're not supposed to take twice as long.
So we get out there, man, and it's obvious on turn 2, both of us are just like, oh, this is awful. This is a fucking slog. So you had the combination of 90 termagants, and then Spencer and Dan. I don't think they got on the same page.
No, I don't think they knew each other beforehand, because like team games are great when there was someone you know, because you already kind of know each other. You already know your cues. You already know how you two communicate as people. And they seem like they're kind of new to each other. And they were definitely both being very like, oh, are you sure you want to do that? Okay, I can make way for you. Like they're being very considerate of each other, but they're also in doing so taking a really long time to make any decisions whatsoever.
So I think we went first that game, right?
Yeah.
So we got to end of turn 2, and the game had been going on for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And and at that point, they were like, hey, do you guys want to call this? Do you want to end the game here? And I was like, fuck no, we're playing the whole game.
Yeah.
If you guys are not going to put us through 2 turns of this game and then just give up, we're going to play the whole fucking game. I felt it was like the kind of the thing like if your dad catches you smoking cigarettes and then makes you smoke the whole fucking pack.
Exactly.
Like that kind of thing. Like, oh no, we're gonna do this whole thing. So there was God, it's just kind of annoying, that kind of game, you know? Like again, the guys were nice. Nobody was cheating. Nobody was doing anything shady. It was just their turns took fucking forever until the end, when things really started to speed up because we were killing everything they had.
Yeah, we basically figured what to focus down, because we didn't know how nasty stuff like the Gaunt Pooper were. The thing's nasty.
Listeners, when you play Tyranids, and you will because they're fucking good, and there's a Turvagon on the other side of the table, kill it first.
Mm-hmm.
No equivocation, no bullshit. Kill it first. Because this one fucking just respawned. I'm sorry, not respawned, but healed Gaunt squads for 10 Gaunts per turn.
Yeah, so
I would be shooting a Wyvern at fucking Gaunts, kill 13. And then next turn, they started out with 30. So I killed fucking almost half of them. And the next turn, Dan's like, okay, and I get 10 Gaunts back. And I'm over there thinking,
had to kill every squad.
What the fuck? So we didn't kill the Turvagon, but we did kill every other Gaunt.
Boltering off like 30 Gaunts in one round with my Land Raider Crusader felt so gratifying.
It was so satisfying.
Like I can feel the game speeding up with every die I roll.
So we won. We kited up the Berserkers, got them to charge, I think, a little too quickly.
Yeah.
And ate the charge with some guardsmen, and then just roasted them when they came out. And same thing with the Termagants. Termagants have very limited staying power.
Yeah, they're only T3, so. So
all we had to do was take them out to a man every time, and we ended up winning the game.
So I actually learned 2 very important things from you, playing alongside you and watching you play when you're not tabling me. One was spacing, like the way you specifically spaced out each of your units to basically, this unit would eat a charge and they'd be too far away to get consolidated into for the next unit and stuff like that. Like that was smart positioning, but also the importance of timing and when to commit forces, because I was a bit cagey. For the first 2 turns, I didn't really do that much. I did like some long range bolter fire or whatever, but I did not do that much because you were intentionally holding me back and like, not telling me what to do, but influencing where and when I should probably commit my forces. And that came in handy during my later games.
Well, yeah, because when you're playing Space Marines, as Space Marines, timing is everything. I was talking on something off of forums just the other day about playing against Berserkers. And Berserkers are one of those units that their potential for murder is so fucking high because they can just rock through entire table quarters in one turn.
Yeah.
And you have to be so careful that after a turn of combat, they're going to be out of position is what you have to do. So when you have limited amounts, elite, quote unquote, elite armies, when you have limited amounts of resources as models, you have to be careful with when you use them and when are you going to get the maximum effect. So what I did in this game is I lined up my guard in lines 7 inches apart. And so a lot of them got chewed up by termagants and all their little guns, but they had kind of split up their deployment, as in Tyranids on one side and Berserkers on the other side. So I lined the table. I had 3 lines of squads right? 7 inches apart, and then your stuff behind it, and then my tanks behind it, with my characters interspersed to make sure people weren't running away. So as the berserkers came through, they ate a couple of squads in the front row, but there's a 7-inch gap between it, and they couldn't cross the gap in one turn, in one activation of fight phase. They couldn't even get into combat with the next squads. So after they had sort of gotten out of their transports and overextended, then it was time to roll in and fuck shit up.
Yeah, then my Templars just rolled out and just chopped them to pieces.
Though I do want to point out, I want to thank Mike Brandt for teaching me that, because he and I played a game of his Khorne Berserkers against my guard, and he totally wrecked my shit because of my spacing was horrible. Mm-hmm. So when you're playing when you're playing, there's so many different things that can happen in a game of 40K. There's deep striking, there's combat, there's shooting. You have to, it's kind of, you have to be on your toes, right? And so with an army that is so combat heavy, like Khorne Berserkers or any Khorne or whatever, it's all spacing. Just keeping your own units away from your units and keeping your important units, the ones that are going to do a lot of killing in the game, ready to strike at a moment's notice.
Mm-hmm. So after that, we're both kind of what's the right?
We were kind of pumped up, but at the same, it was like it was like a salty pumped.
Yeah, it was like I was like ready to like fight a locker, like that kind of pumped.
Because I wasn't pissed or anything. But I was just like but then again, I kind of was, because I was like I don't want to play 5-hour games of 40K.
Yeah, because like
not when I can go fucking up to the fucking Foundation Lounge and get drunk in the middle of the day.
Which, guess what we did?
We did exactly that.
Oh, God. I definitely had a few too many up there. Not as many as Jason.
Jason sniffing on the first night where he drank probably 15 Long Island iced teas.
Yeah, the best part is when he tilted his head back, pinched his nose, and just downed one. And you're like, dude, what the fuck?
He chugged a brand new Long Island iced tea for no reason. Nobody wanted him to do it.
No one challenged him. He just did it.
He's a fucking... good dude, man. I like that guy a lot.
He's a good guy, but he does not drink, so it was extra bad.
Yeah, he's talking about the only time he drinks is at Nova.
God, so glad we can be a good influence on the little
Anyways, we were partying a little bit. Then we go down for the third round, which is a 2,500-point round. Now, I was really excited about this round.
Yeah.
It didn't work out well for me, though, Campbell.
Oh, shit. Was this the game?
Yeah, this was it.
I didn't even know what you were up to that night. I was... not in a good place.
So I'm going to go first because I'm sure your game is more interesting than this. But I played that Chris fellow with the Tau in that round. And I played him because you had said, oh, he's a Virginia guy. He's local to this area. Let's maybe... And he's got a nicely painted army, and he seemed like a nice guy. And I was like, yeah, maybe we'll play him, and maybe we'll be pals afterwards, and we can like play in the future. Well, Campbell didn't work out so well. And this one is kind of on me in that I had no idea what Tau do.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I hadn't played them in 8th. I'd only very rarely played them in 7th. Mm-hmm. So I was sort of like I know that he's going to have suits that drop in, but I'm going to space out my stuff so he can't find gaps. And so he has to at least drop in front of my lines. Well, Campbell, it didn't happen like that. He got the first turn. He had stealth suits, and he comes up and he places down homing beacons with the stealth suits, and his... commanders can all drop in up to 1 inch away from my guys. So in the shooting phase of that game, he took out between 700 and 800 or so points in the first turn because he had the first turn. And then after that, he combat locked almost everything, all the tanks I had. So on turn 2, my turn 1, the only thing I could do was fall back. And I did some half-assed... and he had a bunch of like fire warriors and shit on the other side of the table that were just chewing up my squads. So I had some like half-assed gunning that was eaten up by drones, and some fucking half-assed smites that was killing drones. And then he still had like 3 or 4 commanders in my backfield with all of my tanks, in fusion gun range, because they have 4 fusion guns each. And so on his turn 2, he started moving stuff, and I was like, you know what, man? Nah, I don't want to do this anymore. And he was like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, it's all you in it. And I gave up on turn 2.
Like, I'm not usually one to concede, but at that point, like, you know, it's not going to be fun for the next hour or so before your models all get wiped off the board. And I'm glad he learned the trick to charge your vehicles, because he didn't get to use that on me because he blew up all mine so he couldn't charge them.
Well, I had a couple more than you. No, you know, he's a nice guy. We hung out a lot, actually,
Yeah, we
for
did.
the rest of the con, and he is a really nice guy. Chris, hope you're listening. But that game, I don't know, man. After hearing you having a bad game in the first round, I didn't want to deal with it. I just did not want. I was kind of drunk, and I was just like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with what's going to end up being like 3 hours of just shittiness, especially after that 5-hour game that day.
Oh, Christ.
I was like, no way. You got it, man. Take full points. And I went to bed.
I wish I went to bed.
I have it in my notes here. It says went to bed without saying goodnight to Campbell. Because I don't remember when you got in.
Are we fighting?
I hope not. So how'd your game on Friday night go?
So, I got more drunk than you because I am much smaller than you. And I played against this guy, Carl, who had an Iron Warriors army. And his army, like, looked pretty cool. Like, it was pretty, you know, like your pretty standard Iron Warriors scheme for the most part, but he also had some, like, Zinchian guys in there. And he actually was able to paint obliterators.
Was he in from the GT?
Yeah, he wasn't a regular narrative guy because people streamed in and out for various rounds, which we'll talk about later. But he brought his Iron Warriors, and he had this, these good-looking obliterators, which I made a point to note those in my notes because obliterators usually look like shit because the models were really ugly, but he actually painted them so they looked pretty good.
Nice.
But I played really sloppy, and our buddy, I can't remember his name, but he goes by LT. He was hanging out with me the entire time, basically kind of being my coach.
Who is this?
He was the dude sitting behind us during the awards ceremony with
Andrew.
the beard. Yeah, Andrew. Okay, yeah.
He's a listener. He's Drew. He's a listener.
Drew.
I played Shadow War with him one time, but we're going to get together sometime soon and play some actual 40k.
He's a very cool dude, and I'm glad he was there to kind of shepherd me along and be like, you probably should be doing this or whatever. And he like wasn't totally backseat gaming, but it was good to have a voice of reason in my ear. That being said, I
still
still played
that fucked up.
I was reasonably fucked up. Like, I still remember the game. I just did not play a very good one. I played pretty sloppy, but Carl was, like, super cool. Like, he was really down just to play and hang out. Like, he was keeping it pretty chill. And the Emperor's Champion killed his Demon Prince, which is pretty cool. I did lose.
Very nice.
I did lose. I didn't get tabled or anything like that. And he won, not by like a buttload, but he still won. I wish I was a little more with it so I could have given him a better game because he's a really cool guy. But hopefully I'll see him next year and play a slightly better game. So Carl, if you're listening, because I gave you a business card because I gave fucking everyone business cards. Hopefully next time we can get a real game, man.
Yeah, he seemed like a cool. He had glasses, right?
Probably.
I think he had a nice haircut and glasses. Yeah, he seemed like a cool guy, and his models, his Iron Warriors looked really good.
Yeah, like it's such a getting caution stripes right is very difficult, and he does a pretty good job with them.
Okay, so you want to move on to Saturday?
Yeah, about 6 hours later, I got up for my next game. Actually, not even 6 hours.
Round
later.
5 of the narrative, Saturday morning. Go ahead.
Yeah, so round 5, I'm up against Matt Odie, who you played with his fucking Stormlord a few days before, and the dude.
So this was a 1,000-point game. Did he take the Stormlord?
No, he brought an artillery company. So he had 3 Wyverns, 3 Basilisks, 2 artillery commander, 2 Masters of Ordnance, Yarrick, and a Hellhound.
Fun.
Yeah, I didn't like playing against that army. He was beat. Like I was in rough shape after the night before and like going on 3 days of barely any sleep, but he was beat. So yeah, it was not a really good matchup for me. And again, this is a game where I finished deploying first, but he still got to go first because of that roll-off thing, and I got hurt by it. But I drove up real close. I popped smoke. I drove up closer. I got off some multi-assaults. I didn't divert my forces well. I've split my forces, hope my characters be able to kill his vehicles while my Crusader killed his other vehicles. That didn't work. I ended up losing. It was close. Like, we didn't start playing the objective until turn 4, which was basically just take the central bunker. And he shot the bunker because blowing it up denies the other guy points. And he did that in both games I played with him. So I'm glad that was his target priority because kept my shit alive. But it wasn't really a great game. There were some good moments to it, but artillery companies are not fun to fight against no matter what army you're playing, because it's just you getting shot over and over again until you get close enough to shoot them. And like he's a good dude. Like, I remember him from last year. We had that silly gimmick. Was he the one of the silly gimmick Landspeeder army? No, that was his friend. That was John. That was John.
Landspeeders. He had the silly gimmick flyer army with all the Valkyries.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, I'm glad I got to play against the dude. But I wish we were both feeling a little more up to it, and he had a little bit more of a take all comers army.
So I played against our new friend Gavin.
Oh, yeah.
And 1,000-point game, his NIDS against and I think he had the same list as he played against you, against my guard. And just like you, it turned into one of the most interesting and tactical games I've ever played of 40K. And I'm starting to think there's a reason why, and the reason is Gavin.
Yep.
We ended up, it was a longer game. I think it took about 4 hours, which is very long for a 1,000-point game. But I ended up winning, but it was 18-16, the score was.
Whoa.
Yeah. So both of us were in it the entire time, all the way to the end. The first couple of turns were kind of a slap fight because he had a bunch of Venomthropes and Malanthrope, and like pretty much all his stuff was out of range for my guys. And like Biovores, while good, are not that good against guard because they might do a mortal wound here and there, but I've got mortal wounds to spare.
Yeah, mortal wounds to guardsmen aren't really going to do you any favors.
Right. So we had a great game. Loved playing him. Would totally love to play him again. So Gavin, if you're listening, he lives in New Jersey, so there's a good chance that I'm never going to see the guy again unless he comes to Nova again next year. But if you're listening, bud, let's figure something out. I'd love to play you. But Campbell, something else happened that round.
Oh?
Yeah. A certain someone came up to both of our displays and complimented us on our armies.
Yeah, one Duncan Rhodes, one Duncan Two Thin Coats Rhodes came up to both of our boards separately. We were at different ends of the gaming area. He was just making the rounds and checking armies out.
Yeah, so he came up to me and he said that he liked the consistency of my paint job and that I was using various tanks instead of just spamming one tank over and over again. And we talked for a minute, and Gavin, who's British, and Duncan, who's also British, they talked for a while about being British. And like, where are you from and all that stuff. But it was he came by. He was extremely nice, extremely kind, obviously very into checking out everybody's armies and paid jobs or whatever. Very thin. He's a thin man.
He is a gaunt fellow.
Yeah, but he spent quite a while with you. And the fact Drew, our friend Drew, sent me a picture of him checking out your minis.
You should send me that one because I want to see that. I got a picture with him, but I want to see that picture too.
I will send you. I'll also post it as for show notes in this.
Cool.
But he seemed very impressed by your stuff.
Yeah, he came over and he was asking how I do my black highlights because he was talking about how hard it is to get those highlights right and keep them neat and keep them tight. So we were just exchanging highlighting information, and I told him my secret, which is my hands they're not that steady. I just am really good at cleaning them up, and he was kind of cool with that. So yeah, we just talked about painting black and painting Templars and stuff like that. It was really cool to get to talk to him for a while.
That's awesome, man. And I think both of us gave him a card for the Badcast.
Yes, we did.
So Duncan, hope you're listening. And also, Duncan, if you are listening, please poison the minds of all your fellows at Games Workshop with our podcast. We would very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Subject them to all of our horrible bullshit.
Next round was 1,500-point round. You go first.
All right, so there was this one person there, Katie, and she had an Inari list. And everybody was going around like, oh, dude, that Inari list, like that, it's really scary. Like everyone was kind of hush-hush about it and murmuring about it because there was apparently this nasty list that no one was having a chance against. And apparently it was a super cutthroat army list. It had like 3 of those Forge World.
I think she had Hornets.
Hornets, that's it. Yeah, 3 of those things and like Ivrain and some scary stuff in that. And I just kind of was the last person picked for the kickball game, so I was up against it. And I was thinking like, this is probably going to be rough. And I played one of the most tactically sound and well-played games of 40k I have ever played, which meant it was also very one-sided because I annihilated her. So I got first turn for like the first time that weekend, and I just pushed everything up, but kept things fairly close together. And the Storm Raven just did work, and it was blowing up those Hornets left and right. And because my list was a Crusader, a Storm Raven, and a Rhino with like some scouts hiding somewhere, those Hornets were really important to slow my army down. I was killing her Hornets with my Storm Raven, and she had all her stuff bunched up behind this one big building, so I couldn't see anything, but I had the little Brightlands guy sticking out. So like turn 2, I roll up there and I just bolt her away a mob of Inari. And the thing with Inari is when you kill a squad or kill a unit, they soul burst, and a unit within 7 inches gets a free action. Turns out if you kill 8 of the guys in the squad and the last 2 run away, they don't get soul burst because they fled the battlefield. They didn't quote unquote die. Ooh. So I basically just kept doing that to her Guardian squads, so she got no soul bursts off. And but on turn 2, she decided, I guess that was the time to strike because her army was getting worn down and I was getting real close. And, you don't want to be too close to Templars. So she blitzes everything out and goes whole hog on trying to surround and kill my Rhino to have the tactical and squad inside get killed because, the no escape rule or whatever. So at the end of turn 2, she multi-charges my Land Raider Crusader, my Rhino, and my Storm Raven is just above there. And my Rhino is surrounded. The problem is it's only down to 3 wounds because I'm making saves left and right. Like those pulse lasers or whatever are doing -3 to my save, and I'm rolling 6s reliably. I'm denying all her psychic powers with my Templar stratagem, and my Rhino is surrounded by a bunch of strength 3 elves who can't actually hurt it very well. So my turn 2 happens, and I'm like, all right, now's the time. And my Land Raider Crusader, which is right next to my Rhino, by the way, dumps out a whole squad of Crusaders with the Terminator Chaplain. The Emperor's Champion jumps out of the plane. The plane flies down, goes after Yvraine, and my assault squad drops down to the rear end of Yvraine's Warlock Council, and I just get her in this massive pincer move, and I just chew through everything. And right then, things are looking bad for her. And I pull off the stratagem that lets you fight twice with a unit in the assault phase, and she just concedes on the spot. So I felt really good about playing a great game. However, then I look up and she is not taking it well, and now I feel bad about putting someone in a bad mood.
Hey, as somebody who was in a bad mood the previous night because my shit got rocked by Tau, I mean, I can understand it. Sometimes when you play this game, it just goes wrong, and it feels like you don't have any agency, and it feels like you can't do anything. And those are the games I think you should just stop playing. The good thing is we talked to her later. She and her boyfriend Scott. Scott's on the humanities side. She's on the virtue side. They're friends of ours now. Basically, they're good people. And we talked later, and she was fine with it after. She was saying just in the moment it felt real shitty.
Yeah, no, she and I said, yeah, no, it's totally cool. I get you. So we're cool now. So
well, I'm glad you had a good game. I had a good game too this round. Actually, I played someone on our team because we had more players this round than the Virtue guys. So I played Charvel and his Necrons.
Oh, cool.
And he had a couple of those Forge World, what look like monobikes. They look like a circle with a bunch of dudes.
Yeah,
like
I know
a vertical.
Yeah,
okay, whatever. Well, they have some pretty serious guns on them. He went first, and I made some ridiculous fucking saves on the first turn.
Nice.
Where he was like hitting my tanks with stuff that does like D6 wounds, but at a -3 armor, and I was like, oh, 3 saves? Roll. Oh, look, 3 6s.
Yahtzee.
Those things were pretty expensive. A 1,500 point game, pretty expensive on those things. And once I took them out with, basilisks and mana core shots, it was just like, where's the rest of your army? Oh, uh-oh.
What army?
Then it was, I literally just charged all of my guardsmen up to go after his immortals. Because, they're sitting in cover, so they got 2-up saves, and they, come back with wounds or whatever. So I was like, I'm going to have to put some more shots on them, huh? So I just charged everything at him. He couldn't kill everything, so I was like, fuck it. I think I got this one. Ended up tabling him on turn 4 or 5. But it was a great game because Charvel is a really nice guy, and I'm glad I got to hang out with him some more, and I hope he's around for the next game too because I'd really like to see him, the next Nova.
Hope so. I haven't really gotten to interact with him much one-on-one, but he just seems like a super positive, cool guy to hang out with.
He is. He's a great guy. And again, can't wait to see him next year. So let's move on to Saturday. During the break between that round and the round coming up, I don't think we really did anything, did we?
Well, we had the Warlords meeting to plan the next day.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So last year, there were a lot of these Warlords meetings that were held in the bar, which were one of my favorite. I actually wasn't supposed to be in them, but I just crashed them all anyway, because whatever. And they were one of my favorite parts of the event because it would just be equal parts planning, trash talking, and drinking, probably a little heavier on the last two than the first one.
So I have a lot of thoughts on this, and I want to save them for our takeaways.
Okay.
Because I think we can get our thoughts together in the takeaways section of the podcast today and speak about it. So let's talk about the next round. I want you to go first because again I got stuff to talk about in this round.
All right. So the last round of the night was basically the last regular 40k game of the weekend, and it was a doubles game. So I was doubled up with our good buddy Dave, who I played doubles with him last year when he brought Tau and I brought Ultramarines. And we both just happened to wear Ultramarines t-shirts that day, although neither of us were playing Ultramarines.
Team Ultra
Bros. So he brought his army was this all airbrushed Land Raider, like 4 Land Raider and 1 Knight Lancer list. And every single one looked like a wizard van. Like there's one
truly
just with
amazing.
There's one with like a graveyard on it. There's one with like this big, like all these big skulls, like and hands and stuff coming out of it. And they look gorgeous, but they totally look like prog rock album covers.
Yeah, which makes sense when you start getting to talk to Dave at all, because that's the kind of shit he's into.
So yeah, it was my Templars and like the fucking and like Yes's discography up against Guard and Dark Angels, because it was Matt, Odie and John.
That's a good team to play against. Those guys are a lot of fun.
Yeah, except both teams rolled up and both teams were like, "Fuck, what do we do about this?"
What did they have?
So their list was the artillery company list I talked about earlier, with like a little more stuff, and then just a shitload of plasma and a shitload of bikes with a shitload of plasma.
Oh yeah, he brought his Ravenwing.
Yep. So it was like, okay, what do we do to deal with all this shit? And they're like, what do we do to deal with all this shit?
Yeah, because between the two of you guys had like 4 Land Raiders and a Knight on the board, right?
Well, yeah, he only had 2 Land Raiders and a Knight in his list for 1,500. But yeah, it was still, I shored up the Land Raider deficiency, and then I also had my flying Land Raider. Yeah, well, you got to represent. It's all about Land Raider representation. But yeah, it was a bit of a slog. Like, it was a long game, and the thing is, when you're on your 7th game, and like, I played against Matt earlier that day, and he was tired, and at this point, he was like, ugh, fuck this dude, and I was pretty much in the same boat. But we still played a pretty good game. The Lancer, that's what he brought. Matt brought the dual Earthshaker Super Heavy, whatever that one is.
The Minotaur.
Yeah, the Lancer got to charge that and blow it up. It did all 24 of its wounds in 1 round of assault, which is not surprising. Then it immediately got killed.
Fucking nasty.
Because they put all their fire into the Lancer from turn 1 on. So it only lasted till turn 2. And I was talking to Dave about it, and he was like,
how did he get to charge the Minotaur on turn 1?
Oh, he charged on turn 2.
How did he shouldn't the Minotaur be like all the way in the back?
It was. The thing's fast. And the thing is, both their armies didn't have any screening units, because Matt didn't have any infantry save for 1 las cannon squad, and then it was just bikes and like 2 5-man combat squads hiding out with the Dark Angels.
Huh.
Yeah, so it was pretty exposed. And Dave was telling me that the Knight has never done a fucking thing all weekend, and he just wants to do something with it. He's like, I know I could take 2 Land Raiders and a bunch of guys inside and it'd be way more reliable, but I want to take my Knight. And I'm like, dude, I got you. I got a Land Raider. We're good.
I had a similar thing in this round for me too.
Yeah, so he charged that in there. That blew that up. Then they blew our Knight up. And it was a little bit rough, but they also had a Xiphon Interceptor and like the Dark Angels flyer, which we shot both of those down. I shot down the Dark Angels fighter with my Storm Raven turn 1.
Very nice.
And we shot down the other one with one of the Land Raiders. But it was a bit of a slog, but it was like objectively like a good game. They seemed really demoralized by it, but looking at the battlefield at the end of the game, Dave had his Land Raiders, those 2 Land Raiders pretty much untouched, but most of my shit was dead. Like, it was, and most of their stuff was dead too, but they still had some stuff on the table. So it was an all right game. It was just a lot to play that late at night, I think. Right,
yeah. So I had another team game with Greggles was my was my teammate, and he brought like 2 Gorkanauts, a Mecha Dread and a Mega Dread was his 1,500 point list, and a couple of guys on a couple or Zagstruck or Zard Snark, one of the two, and like a couple of buggies and whatever. And then I brought my 1,500 list, and I included the Shadow Sword in this list because the other guys had a Storm Surge.
Makes sense.
And man, this game. Okay, so it was against Dan again, the guy with the Tyranids, the guy with the 90 Termagants. And what did he bring this time? He brought his 90 Termagants back for this game.
Wowie.
And we played against Mike, who had Tau. Now, he didn't have drop Tau. He had more gunline Tau and a Storm Surge, which is pretty underwhelming, to be honest. But then again,
really?
I think most of the super heavies in this edition are. The first thing we do in this game is play a game of chicken with deployment because they're trying to put down the Storm Surge last so it can hide from the Shadow Sword.
Gotcha.
But I told him, I was like, guys, I have like 19 units to deploy here because I have 7 individual characters. 6 infantry, like all this shit. And I'm like, just put it down. I'll put this Shadow Sword in front of it and we'll go for it. But they're like, oh, no, we'll see what happens. So we go through this long game of fucking deployment chicken. And then we roll for first turn. They get +1, but we have a reroll because of a special card we got. So they rolled a 2, getting +1. So they got a 3. And then I rolled a 1.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, cool. I have this reroll card. That's great. So I rolled again. I rolled a 1.
Nice.
So we're going second. And at this point, I'm like, well, there goes the Shadow Sword because it's across the table from the Storm Surge. And I'm like, something with a gun that big can probably take out this tank. Can probably do 26 wounds to something. And I was right. But what I wasn't prepared for, Campbell, was that round started at 9:30. We got pairings done probably around 9:35, 9:40. And so we're at the table at that point. What I wasn't prepared for was I didn't get to have a turn start until 11:10 p.m.
Boo.
90 Termagants with a Tau player who was very deliberate with what he was going to shoot, and it was just so interminable. And I was like, I'm just sitting there across the table from these guys, and I'm trying to be as zen as I can, but I'm getting annoyed because I'm like these guys. Just like fucking help Termagant. Hey Mike, help Dan move his 90 fucking Termagants. Like, and Greg and I were sprinting through everything. Like we were trying to go as fast as fuck because we were both already very tired at this point. Yeah. We're trying to go as fast as we fucking can through everything. And I'm over there on my side being like, come on guys, come on, let's go, let's do this. Which I'm sure they hated, but I didn't fucking care because like you're gonna bring 90 Termagants to a game that starts at 9:30. It's supposed to start at 9:30. Doesn't start until actually 9:45, and then I'm not gonna get to do anything until after 11.
Yeah,
like I was fucking done. So, but this is another situation where I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm just gonna sit here and try to chill and just be quiet, and I'm not gonna start fights, and I'm not gonna do anything. But unfortunately, they took my being quiet as being like super pissed off. And I wasn't.
Yeah, he was telling me about that after the game.
I wasn't happy about the situation, but I wasn't like super upset. I was just like, I want to get through this annoying part so we can get to the late turns when the game might actually be interesting. And we ended up winning. They ended up killing like all of Greg's fucking walkers, but it just came down to he didn't have anything to protect his Termagants except the Malanthrope. So it got to the point where I got my Guardsmen up in charge range, and Guardsmen are better than Termagants in combat. And
really?
Because they have 5-up saves, 6-up saves, and Guardsmen sergeants get multiple attacks.
Yep, true.
So just got in there and was taken down by attrition, and eventually got the Malanthrope in combat with like all of my characters at once and took it down. And then we were sitting on objectives in the game, and we ended up winning. It wasn't like a blowout or anything. It was pretty close, but it was just like we didn't stop until like 4 a.m.
Yeah, like Greg.
No, not 4. I think it was 3:30. Because I remember we were like, because after that we packed up and I remember looking at the clock when we got back to the room, and it was almost 4 then. So I think it was about 3:30. Greg started the game in his normal ebullient, energetic self, and at the end of the game had switched with me sitting down and just being silent.
Yeah, like I know he took an army that was intentionally small to make that game go faster. Like he plays his orcs as battle wagons and walkers because he doesn't want to take 1,000 hours to move all his boys.
Right, and I took my Shadow Sword because I was like, hey, maybe this will be a quicker game this way.
Yeah.
Because I should have, and I thought about this. I'm like, yeah, I can take the Shadow Sword. I get the first turn, that fucking thing will die. Great. If I don't get the first turn, this fucking thing will die. Great, whatever. If I had taken the regular 1,500 point list with a bunch of extra artillery tanks, we would have won without any question. Like, it wouldn't have been down to the final turns or anything. It would have been because I just would have erased fucking. We killed the Storm Surge, with a combination of like Manticores, Basilisk, and Greg finally managing to get walkers over in combat with it. But then we just ignored the rest of the Tau. They didn't do anything because he stuck them in a corner all game.
Yeah.
He didn't try to come out and get it. Things that they were out of range of everything else. And so then it was just killing Gaunts and killing the Mountain Throbe, and it was game over, man.
Because that's something I see very often with newer players where they're just like, I don't want my models to die, and they'll huddle them up and hide them, and they won't end up doing anything because of it.
So again, Mike and Dan are nice dudes, good dudes. It's just that game was frustrating me because, again, I didn't get to play until 11:10 p.m.
Yeah, well, I was done with my game at 1:30. I just hung out there because like I brought all my shit upstairs, and I'm like, you know what? I only get to hang out with these guys so often. I'm gonna go back down there and hang out, and it can't take that much longer, can it?
Oh, it did.
And yeah, I got back to the room like at 3:45.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to Sunday where we had our Apocalypse game.
Yep.
Which went a lot quicker and was way more organized than I thought possible.
It was also like quicker than our doubles games. Felt quicker anyway.
It felt quicker than doubles games. The Apocalypse game was a ton of fun. We had so much shit on our side.
Yeah, well,
and a ton of fucking troops.
Yeah,
because I learned my lesson. I learned my lesson in January that Joe likes to do Apocalypse games where troops can be the only things that score. So what did I do? I brought a bunch of troops. So did everybody else. And what did we do? Okay, real quick, everybody. I'm going to give this away. We fucking dunked on the Virtue big time in this Apocalypse game. We scored a bajillion points. They scored a couple of points. It was fucking tight. And the reason we did that is because we brought troops and they didn't. Now, it's Apocalypse, and I'm fine with their choices as thing because they had a Manta and a Warlord Titan.
Yeah.
They had, guys, the Manta, I'm sure you'll see pictures of it on the internet. If you haven't, go find them. It's fucking awesome. A huge, incredible model, extremely well painted. And it fucking wrecked house, man. Every turn, it was like, hey, there's a super heavy over there, it's dead. Hey, there's a super heavy over there, it's dead. But my strategy on our side of the table, because the Manta was on our half of the table, was ignore it. It's a flyer. It can't score. Yeah, it's got a bunch of fucking guys in it, but let's rack up points in the early rounds, and it won't matter what it does.
Yeah.
It can't contest. It can't score. The guys inside of it might be able to contest one or maybe two objectives, but we've got so many troops, it doesn't matter. So let's get this shit off the ground in front of us, and we'll be fine. And that's exactly what we did. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
The Shadow Sword took out a Lord of Skulls turn 1, which is fine, and then it got blown up by the Manta. The Baneblade did jack fucking shit, and then it got blown up by drop potting, or not drop potting, but deep striking fusion commanders. But nobody fucked with any of my other stuff.
Well, like with me, I got my knight shot up real bad, and like Chris's super Tau flyer thing shot at it, and a bunch of knights shot at it. It killed a knight, but that's about it. But after my knight and my Storm Raven and my Terminators got killed, because Terminators are going to get waxed when they have to get in closer in Apocalypse. Yeah. Everything else of mine got pretty much left alone. Angrath, the Unbound, fought with my Empress Champion and my Crusader squad. He ran away from them, which is hilarious. And then my Marshal killed him with a Combo Melta, which is even more hilarious.
Very nice. So real quick, let's talk about the Warlord Titan.
I was going to work up to that.
The Warlord Titan, 70 wounds. Yeah. And round 1, we had the first turn because we were winning in the tournament. Round 1, we put 35 wounds on it.
Yeah, it's toughness 16 with a 2-up save and like a 3-up feel no pain essentially from the start.
So it's kind of a badass. But we bring it down to half wounds, and then like for a couple of turns I don't hear anything, but then I hear, hey, the Warlord only has 9 wounds. So I'm like, it's like Scott came up. He's like, hey, the Warlord only has 9 wounds. What can you shoot at it? And I'm like, oh, I got basilisks. I got mana core. Like, what do you need? He's like, everything. This turn, we're doing it. We're taking out this turn. So I'm like, fucking righteous. Let's do it. So we start shooting at it. Got 9 wounds left. And we do 4 wounds with something like 5 basilisks, 2 mana cores, Lehman Russes, like a bunch of shit from me and Scott. We do 4 wounds. It's got 5 wounds left.
And then out of the warp comes Kaldor Drago.
Kaldor fucking Drago.
And I don't even know how we got over there because I was like off, getting lunch while he was moving in because my turns were pretty quick. And he gets the charge off on the Titan. And because of its size, it doesn't get to fire Overwatch, at least not at, infantry models because it's fucking like 3 feet tall. And he puts down those last few wounds. And he kills the fucking Warlord Titan with a sword in hand-to-hand combat.
He stabbed the Warlord to death.
With a sword. Because he's strength 10, and it's toughness 16, so he's only wounding on 5s, while everything else is wounding on 6s.
This motherfucker then survives the titanic explosion that happens after the Warlord dies.
Which is unfortunately like a 7-inch explosion, which isn't even like the radius of the base the thing was mounted on.
Doesn't matter.
Still, fucking cool.
It does 2d6 mortal wounds. Fucking Kaldor Drago ate him. Didn't eat for fucking breakfast. Didn't even care. And then he died to shooting in the next turn. But who fucking cares? All right? He kicked ass. He came and he stabbed the fucking Warlord Titan to death. And it was the coolest goddamn thing I've ever seen. Phil, who was using Drago on that one, fucking props to you, buddy. You know how to play the game. That shit was tight.
Drago came in, blew up, and then left, just like your stepdad.
So we win the Apocalypse game. Then we do a little mini award ceremony for Just a Thing. I end up getting 3rd place on the human side, the 3rd highest score in the humans. I went 6-1 in the thing, and I got a certificate. That's now in my house. Looks great next to all my other stuff. So it continues the trend of me going to cons and winning something every single time I go.
Yeah. No such luck for me.
The trend has continued in the opposite direction for you.
Dude, yeah, you even won like when at the end Joe's like, I'm just gonna throw some shit out there like a t-shirt cannon, and he just throws out a box of aggressors and you're like, I'm taller than you, and you grab it.
No. It was Reavers, and I caught it basket catch. He threw it up and it literally just landed like it hit my chest, and I just snared it against my chest.
Fucking A.
So I didn't even go up for it. It just landed literally right like on me. So I got a bunch of stuff on that one. I got a prize pack that included a squad of aggressors and then the aforementioned Reavers, which is really good because I planned on buying them anyways.
Yeah,
for my
good.
Primaris Marines. So I'm very, very happy with that. The award ceremony took forever because it always does. Mike Brandt mumbled a lot because he always does. For next Nova, I am going to teach that man how to speak publicly.
I think that's an enduring hobby project to try to get off the ground.
I promise you and all the listeners and everybody that comes to Nova that I will teach him how not to mumble while standing in front of a fucking microphone. And after that, man, we went and we hung the fuck out in the Foundation Lounge for a while.
We partied hardy. We
got
kicked out when they closed.
We closed it down. We hung out with Doug and Todd from Table War. We hung out with my man Michael from Blood Bowl at Nova. We hung out with everybody who participated in the narrative. And then we went back to our room.
And we had a room party.
And we had such a fucking room party.
Until 5 o'clock in the morning.
5 o'clock in the morning. We played a very long round of Fuck, Marry, Kill Primarchs, which was a lot of fun, though there's a lot of Fulgrim apologists in that group.
Shameful.
So Craig, Jason, Owen, and Bridget for a little bit. Chris, Odie, and John, all you guys hanging out. It was fantastic doing it. I can't wait to do it again. Great job. Drank too much. Felt like shit on Monday, but hey, that's Nova.
That is Nova.
So let's quickly move into takeaways.
All right.
Because we're going long.
Yeah, we are. This is a long show.
So another great narrative. A great time. This one was, I think, light on social aspect and heavy on games, which is okay because the game is actually good now.
This is true.
So I sent a bunch of feedback to Joe and Colin today, actually, about what I would like to see changed for next time, and most of it revolves around let's bring back the Warlord meeting and let's have it count for something.
Yeah.
Let's execute all of our pairings in the meetings before the rounds start, so we don't have to stand on chairs and yell during the round.
That's a good plan. I like that.
I wanted to bring back, like, you have to go through all of the missions, so you have to pick people for specific missions instead of just like do whatever mission you want. And I wanted to. A big one was lists. I'd like to bring it back so everybody brings one list per points level.
Yeah, because like there was at least one game where I had my display board out because I was part of the painting judging, which I got snubbed on, which I was very salty about. And one of the people I was playing with was like, "Oh, are you taking that knight?" And they started reaching for their stuff, and I was like, "I don't know. You choose. I don't know. You build your army because I don't like list tailoring. So I think everyone should have one list. I think also there should be some way, like if not comp, some kind of list review or something, because not all lists are created equal, and some people got some bad games. Like not just you and me, but some other people got some bad games.
Well, Chris won all of his games.
Yeah.
And all of his games went exactly like that.
Yeah, and I think, like, you know, if you have somebody to be like, hey, dude, tone it down a notch, or just match him against the people in the highest echelon, or a bit of both, that'd be cool.
Well, I think there should, if it was up to me, I'd add language to the primer, be like, hey, you should bring all-comers lists, because we're trying to make these games as congenial as possible.
Yeah, make it chill. And make it all comers. So one of the other things they did this year that they didn't do, I don't think they really did last year. So there are these little narrative narrative recon games in between the main events, which are just little skirmish games, which are cool. Like I didn't go to them because I wanted to have lunch and dinner and go shopping and like meet people and all that stuff. But I know like Chris played all of them, which is insane. Like props to that guy.
He played 12 games of 40k.
Yeah, props to that guy for starving himself to play Warhammer. But those are cool because they're the a la carte thing. People can just come in, they can come and go because they're just little things that you can just do to kill an hour here and there. That being said, this time every game was come and go. So there were people just like popping in and popping out, and you'd see him for a round and then they'd be gone. Like my game with Carl, as great as that was, I wish he was actually part of the whole event and he got to take part in the whole event as opposed to just showing up for a game or two. You missed some of the camaraderie and some of the rapport you build with people because you weren't always seeing the same people around. I think that by making the event just a little bigger to begin with, like having more people allowed in overall, as opposed to having slots for people to come in and out, would be the solution to that.
I think that I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't think they put a limit on the Warlords, which I don't really know what Warlords did differently this time around. Like, because the meetings weren't really special. There weren't really any. There wasn't really any planning. It was just sort of like, yeah, you can be Warlords, great, and then everybody can play. I want everybody to play. I want as many people to play as they want to, but let's open up Warlords for everyone. But Warlords are like, you are in all the games. Mm-hmm. And if you want to do a la carte, do the Night Fighter.
Yeah.
Or Recon Squad. You know, that's so. Yeah, I hate being like restrictive and stuff like this. Like I hate being like, you can't play because you're not this level, or you can't play. Well, like it sucks. And I want more people to come, so let's just open it up. Let's just open it up for Warlords. But if you're Warlord, you're there the whole time.
Yeah, because like, while it might sound like I'm saying on the outside, get away from our table, nerd. This is for jocks and cool kids only. I want it to be more fun for the people who are actually invested in it and not just wandering in and out.
Right. So that's kind of a hard line to think about, and maybe we can have a bigger discussion about this, maybe with Joe or someone later in a different episode, because I think it's warranted. Like, because I don't want to be exclusive, and I know you don't want to be exclusive either.
No.
So maybe a conversation about this is warranted in the future. I think overall, though, it was a great time.
Oh, yeah, no, it was the fact that Apocalypse game ran so smoothly. Like,
we finished early. We finished almost an hour early.
Which is insane. Apocalypse finishing early. That's insane. And, like, 8th edition is to thank for a lot of that because you're not getting all the weird-ass formations and, like, bullshit there. But we're finishing turns early, which is crazy. It was super well run. It was like the event we talked about in Philly, but even tighter. without feeling restrictive. Like, I don't think anyone got like, oh shit, they ended too soon, I didn't get to have my turn. Like, everyone was on the same page. And the whole event was run really well. The missions were stupid fun. Like, I liked those missions a lot.
Really good missions. Would you want to do an Apocalypse battle next year?
So I will say, by turn 3 during the Apocalypse game, I sat there and I kind of got the 1,000-yard stare, and I was like, I'm so done with this hobby. It's having that on the last day is a lot. Like, I probably could have rallied together for one more game, but having that be my one more game is a bit much.
So,
and it also meant I had to bring another case
if we had opened up a second table for that and had it half as large, but on 2 different tables?
Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how much that would have changed it, but it might have helped.
All right. Yeah, I like the Apocalypse, but I totally get you. I totally get what you're saying. And I didn't get a chance to, because of all this, the fucking schedule this time, I really did not get the chance that I wanted to check out like anything else.
Yeah, I got to look, like, during the first day, we got to go check out, the stores, and, like, I got to check out some of the other gaming areas, but I barely ventured out.
We did a walk around for the GT.
Yep, got a
lot
bunch
of Roboots, a lot of Magnus.
More Roboots and Gilmans than women attending, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. Yeah, but still, it was a great time. Can't wait for next year. But one very important thing, and I think you'll echo me on this one, is wear good shoes.
Yeah, oh my God.
My ankle is still fucked up, by the way.
Dude, my knees are only just now okay. I've at Adepticon, I was like, you know what? I want to, I'm fairly committed to my physical fitness. I'm going to bring my running shoes and I'm going to go for a run in between some games. And that never fucking happened because I'm standing up all day. But I wore those running shoes for every one of my games after the second afternoon, and that was a good decision. I don't care. They're clunky, ugly dad shoes. You need some support. Like, I'm not quite doing the full-on bringing a yoga mat to stand on thing, but wear comfortable shoes. Yeah, I fucked up. I wore my Vans the entire time, and my feet and ankles are punishing me for it because I'm old now. So next time, I'm wearing good shoes. Let's wrap it up. Let me do some quick shout-outs. Nicholas and Spencer, meeting you guys was fucking tight. Can't wait to see you again next year. I know they're Boston guys, Campbell, so you might see them before. Yeah, I was talking to Spencer a little while when we were there, and we were talking about some local drama, and we'll definitely be getting the game in for too long. I want to shout out to Chris Stover, who played the Very Mean Tau list. Make nicer lists next time, but you're a cool guy, so I'm sure I will see you sometime soon. And I'd like to do a shout out to Phil Karpowicz. I know you're a local guy too. You were pretty wasted when we were hanging out, but it's still cool. We're still Ultramarines Heresy Bros, and we're going to game in real soon. I want to shout out to Gavin Cole for giving both of us an incredible game against your Tyranids. Can't wait to see you again, bud. Please come to Nova next year. I also want to shout out to any of the goons that showed up. Will came over and introduced himself. He had those really cool Beastmen guard. Yeah, that army's dope. With the giant gore knight or whatever. I don't know what the fuck it is, but it's a huge Beastman knight. And I'd like to throw a shout out to Timothy Day and the Crew Shaken podcast. It was cool to see you guys again because I saw you guys back in Philly. You know who did go for a run during the con? Fucking Tim. Good for him. That healthy motherfucker. He is a healthy boy. He's the healthiest. But good for him and his podcast. I wish them well. And also a big shout out to the Sniffin' Bros for hanging for the 4th year in a row with your boy. And you guys are in Florida, and if that Hurricane Irma gets real bad, fucking get the fuck out of there. Don't hang out in Florida. It sucks there anyways. Stay safe, y'all. But I think that's going to do it for us, Campbell. Yeah, I think it's time to wrap this one up. All right, well, for Campbell McLaughlin, I'm Dan Boyd. Thanks for listening to the Novacast 2017 edition of the 40k Badcast, and we'll see you next time. Later, nerds.